Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to Grand Solar Minimum. On February 26, 2018, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit the highlands region of Papua New Guinea, affecting an estimated 544,000 people in 5 provinces: Enga, Gulf, Hela, Southern Highlands, and Western provinces, with Hela and Southern Highlands being the most affected. More than 270,000 people, including 125,000 children, have been left in immediate need of life-saving assistance. Relief Web is reporting that 8,135 households remain displaced by the earthquake. That's over 43,000 people across 44 locations and care centers. These figures have been changing on a weekly basis. Many of those displaced are now living in care centers, and other locations will not return home, and the communities are in the process of defining alternative areas to relocate. Where housing has been damaged or destroyed, shelter materials and tools are urgently required, as is training in their use. Community leaders and landowners have reportedly started negotiating land for the displaced families. Landslides caused by the earthquake have negatively affected food security, with many root crops and family vegetable plots destroyed. Damaged roads have also reduced access to markets and public services. The earthquake has also caused new damming as well as resulting flooding in some areas. Of 86 reporting health facilities in Hela and Southern Highlands province, 7 in Hela and 11 in Southern Highlands have reported being severely damaged, and some have no water. While 80% of the health facilities in the affected areas are now open, many health workers have been affected by the earthquake and also require assistance. Psychosocial counseling for earthquake survivors affected by trauma and loss is urgently required. Many children are reportedly afraid to return to their schools or even where school facilities are open. The integrity of water sources has been affected and are not safe for drinking. Rainwater collection systems have been destroyed. With limited access to safe, clean water, waterborne diseases such as diarrhea are a significant risk. An outbreak of dysentery affecting 25 people in the Makuma Ilalibo Pandia district, Southern Highlands province, is suspected to be due to a contaminated creek. Since the 28th of March, humanitarian programs in and around Terry, the provincial capital of Hela province, have been suspended due to increased tension and intercommunal fighting. Many partners have temporarily relocated humanitarian staff to other locations, including to the Southern Highlands provincial capital, Mendi, in view of the situation. Humanitarian partners aim to resume relief work as soon as the security situation allows. Now let's take a look at some of the larger earthquakes that have happened in this region. I have a map here. This just shows some of the more larger earthquakes, including aftershocks in this area. This is just for 2018, and as you can see, several large quakes have happened. Let me just go through the list here. Most of these have been downgraded. As you can see here, the 7.5 in blue will light up here. Let's see if I can shrink this so you can see everything. There we go. So the true catastrophic damage started with this particular earthquake, the 7.5 in February. What made it catastrophic is the crazy landslides that happened, blocking the river, causing flooding, crushing homes, houses, families. all in one go. It's very rural there. It took days for the information to trickle out how catastrophic the damage was. Since then, this area has experienced several, I don't know, I don't have the exact count, but well over hundreds and hundreds of aftershocks, many of which were in the high 5.7s to 6.0s. I'm assuming the 6.3 we experienced today is an aftershock. Who knows? We'll find out. But my concern with this area is, what is this doing to the already disturbed land and the landslides, and in particular, the river? What happened was, when the landslides occurred, the landslides themselves caused almost like a damming effect with the river, and that river then was causing flooding. I'm concerned with how shallow this particular quake was, how this is going to be affecting the landslide, affecting the dams that the landslides created, what's going on with the river. Getting information is very, very difficult. There's a lot of uprising. Let me see if I can pull up a map so you guys can have a look here. So let's zoom in to the area affected. Most of the relief efforts have been transferred to Mendi here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. Let's see. You can't. Okay. So here, this will be easier for you to see. The relief efforts here in Mendi, most things had to be transferred here because in this very heavily hit area in Tari, this is where civil uprising is. There is a lot of familial conflicts. There's also a lot of uprising against the police, a lot of demands with the tribes. This tribal conflict and trauma hampers the disaster relief in Papua New Guinea. The children were receiving trauma counseling and playing games and doing puzzles at a UNICEF makeshift child care center following a month of devastating earthquakes in PNG when the bullets started flying. They were taking a break from the stresses caused by the 7.5 mag earthquake from February and hundreds of aftershocks that had decimated villages and shattered communities in the southern highlands and Hela provinces, when a fight began between two tribes. UNICEF education specialists were with the children in Tari. They were organizing activities at the child center, making sure the kids can have moments of happiness, keeping their minds off the stress and worry. Then shooting started. They had to keep the children calm, put them on the floor to make sure they wouldn't be hit by bullets. While the children were safely evacuated and returned to their families, the event represented an ongoing emergency in the region, hampering disaster relief efforts. This is 5-year-old Douglas Jacob. He was hit by fallen rocks when the 7.5 magnitude earthquake hit on February 26. It's estimated 125,000 children are in need of help in PNG. More than 180 people were killed after the initial earthquake of February 26. The PNG government estimates 270,000 people are in need of urgent assistance. These young earthquake survivors are learning how to properly wash their hands and prevent illness at a UNICEF-supported child space in Mendi. The combination of landslides, flooded roads, and tribal fighting has made reaching remote communities very difficult. A local journalist, Scott Wade, said the fights were the result of a long-running feud between tribes, but few details were known about the nature of the conflict. Wade said the latest fight erupted this week in Tari, where UNICEF was caring for children. 5 locals were killed, 2 were minors. Scott has an excellent blog covering his home country, and I will leave the link in the description below. Hela governor said the fights were a direct result of the earthquakes. The enemy tries to move to safer places, they come across another one and attack, he said. 100 military personnel had mobilized to help secure the public safety in Tari. The Red Cross on Monday will assist the Coma, Tawa, and Dineria communities close to the earthquake's epicenter, which have not yet received aid, delivering non-food items including mosquito nests, jerry cans, hygiene kits, medications, and other necessities. Amid the continuing aftershocks, the violence, the overcrowded conditions, and lack of necessities in temporary shelters, humanitarian organizations say they are concerned about the impact of disease and trauma in the wake of the destruction. Before the earthquakes, children in PNG were already high risk of violence and physical emotional abuse. The behavior of children has definitely changed since the earthquake. Kids are withdrawn, they don't like to go out. The toxic stress affects them not only now, but later in their life. Right now, UNICEF representatives' main concern is the psychological health of the children. Psychological damage among children should not be overlooked. It can be a negative impact on the children's brain development, mental health, overall well-being in the long run, she said, adding, children who have suffered from trauma have increased risk of delayed development, mental health disorders, depression, anxiety, self-harm, and suicide. However, children are not the only ones impacted. Oil Search Director Stephanie Copus Campbell has been based in PNG since the initial earthquake and said she feared the worst for villagers' mental health. People are really distressed. They're scared, she said. So let's look at the earthquake report. This says the very strong, deadly aftershock in Papua New Guinea. Here we go. So EQ report is stating this was a very strong, deadly aftershock in New Guinea, in PNG, today, April 7th, 2018. This update comes from Radio New Zealand, who wrote earlier on the site, a significant aftershock in Papua New Guinea's highlands caused further devastation in the Hela province, according to reports emerging from the region. The region has been struggling in the earthquake's aftermath, with aid slow to trickle in and tribal fighting seizing the provincial capital, Tari, forcing the military to take over the hospital after the doctors fled. Moses is a Tari resident who is currently in Port Moresby. He said his family phoned him to tell him of the latest devastation. He says, "I'm hearing that all our houses that were half damaged are all gone down and more destruction has happened," he said in a phone interview on Saturday night. "All my children, they rang me that they cannot live more in our permanent house because all the houses are destroyed. I'm driving with my brother here, and he's from Koruba. He's hearing that one of his relatives, a young girl, has been crushed by her house," adding that he understood more people could have been killed in Tari. The houses that weren't completely destroyed by February's earthquake had now been finished off. He was told by relatives, and the town, where the response had already been significantly hampered, had been taken back to square one. So any progress they've had from February onward has been just destroyed. Their houses that were already damaged, trying to be repaired, have now been leveled by this earthquake today, according to this report from Radio New Zealand, who interviewed this gentleman who is a resident of Tari, one of the hardest hit areas in the country. This will add on to the worst disaster and tribal fights, and he said he does not know how people will cope with this. He said he had originally planned to return to Hela on Sunday, but was told the airport runway had split in the middle. "It's finished us off," he said. As you can see, this is the already very heavily hit area, and they've just been reset back to where they were on February 26th, if not worse. This is the fault line responsible for the main shock and many powerful aftershocks in New Guinea highlands. It's the fold and thrust belt here. So this is the fault line that's causing all the trouble. Here the report says the main risk in PNG highlands are landslides. The landslides were responsible for killing the 100 people during the main shock and the strong aftershock. A detailed number of fatalities was never given after the 7.5 earthquake from February 26. They fear more than 160 people were killed. I hear numbers varying from 140 and up. You know, it's hard to get information. It's just a remote area. It doesn't seem very organized or anything. So I can do the best reporting on this. Let's take a look at the chat, shall we? Hey guys, sorry for the brief technical issue in the beginning. As you can see, Jake just popped in. He's on the road in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm here. So I just wanted to give you guys an update on the Papua New Guinea earthquake. I woke up about 5 a.m. and I saw the 6.3 earthquake alert on my phone, and I looked at the location on the map, and my eyes rolled in the back of my head. I'm like, here we go. I can only imagine the devastation. And the devastation right now, even though the information is slow trickling in, is that all the damage from February, any type of work that they've put into restoring the area from February onward pretty much has been uprooted and destroyed now, today. So with the 6.3 earthquake that happened today. So hello everyone in the chat. Let me just take a look here. This is live, so you know it's prone to quirkiness. Have I got any questions here? We didn't have any more flat earthers in here, did we? Okay. Well, guys, I just want to thank y'all for tuning in. Please like and share. I'm not seeing enough of our stuff shared on Facebook and Twitter, so that's the best thing you can do. If you want to support Grand Solar Minimum, please like and share.